Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. How are you all doing, gang? I hope you're all coping. I must admit, I found myself daydreaming the other day, which is something we just don't do often enough. But I was thinking how many people out there would have been saying just a few months ago, you know what, it's just not fair. I wish I could work from home more. But then I got thinking, how many of those people are now regretting what they wished upon themselves, whether it be crazy house with hyperactive kids or a partner whose every minute habit has been magnified to such a state that it's slowly driving them nuts. And let's face it, I do think we've all learned a few things about ourselves, about what is and what isn't important to us over the last few weeks. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, experiences, and everything that you've been going through over the last few months by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. But on today's show, I want to learn more about an incredibly cool story. But, if I was to say Scalyr is a log management and observability platform for the new stack, you could be forgiven if you were outside the tech community for thinking, Neil, it's going to take a little bit more than log management to win me over in this current climate. And I would say, stick with me for a minute, because Scalyr's Sonic Boom breakthrough is enabling customers to ingest and analyze over 200 terabytes of daily data. Yeah, that's right. I said that right. That's over 200 terabytes of daily data, which is surpassing all prior cloud-based industry capabilities. And with 96% of searches completing in under 1 second and thousands of active users, it seems to me that Scalyr has transformed logs from afterthought into an advantage. And I think that is something that every business is chasing now, trying to take something that's an afterthought, create an advantage. And Christine Heckart, CEO at Scalyr, further highlighted that when she said, the amount of event data that the modern organisation must collect, store and analyse is continuing to grow exponentially, but budgets are not. And I think now more than ever, those budgets are capped right across the board during this period of uncertainty. So for me, today's announcement is Scalyr's answer to that critical issue. And it feels like a watershed moment that will fully transform observability tools into a baseline business utility. And I think we all need a little good news right now. And today, I want to deliver some good news through the medium of a sonic boom. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to California for a virtual trip to chat with Christine Heckart, CEO at Scalyr. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
My name is Christine Heckart. I'm CEO of Scalyr, which means I do pretty much anything I'm told.
Now, Scalyr is the log management and observability platform for the new stack. But for people hearing about Scalyr for the first time, can you just possibly set the scene and tell the listeners a little bit more about the kind of problems you're solving with technology?
We help engineers and operators inside a digital business or a digital service collect, store, and use all of their event data to isolate and resolve problems when they happen. Most people think this is impossible to collect all of that data, all of the application exhaust. Scalyr believes it's essential.
And you have quite a reputation for being an incredibly dynamic leader out of Microsoft and Cisco, to name but a few. So I've got to ask, what attracted you to Scalyr and ultimately what excites you about the directions that the company is heading right now?
Well, I didn't know much about log analytics. It wasn't something that seemed interesting or sexy to me until I started to learn about it. And the log analytics and these event data stores are really critical to understanding the performance of a digital business. This data is the most granular and fundamental insight you have into this health and performance, which is pretty critical for the economy today, at least when the economy is working the way it's supposed to. What excited me about Scalyr is that if you're a startup, you typically need to have a 10x advantage on at least one criteria that's important for purchase by your buying audience. And Scalyr's architecture provided a 10x advantage on two key purchase criteria, plus a 2 to 5x advantage on a third. And I thought that was really amazing, and that's what attracted me to the company.
Excellent. And one of the reasons I was incredibly excited to get you on the podcast today was after I heard about your sonic boom breakthrough, which sounds incredibly cool on its own. But can you tell me a little bit more about how you've created this first cloud-based log analytics platform capable of ingesting over 150 terabytes of data per customer in real time? I mean, that stat alone is mouthwatering, but can you tell me a bit more about that?
Sure. Well, it turns out that as of, I think it was yesterday, we hit 200 terabytes a day, and we don't expect to hit the limits of the architecture until we're past a petabyte a day. But so far, the most we've tested ourselves in real time is the 200 terabyte a day limit. So we're very excited about that. And there's three things that make it possible for us to break through those sound barriers. One is that we don't do indexing at all. One is that we separate storage from compute. And the third is that we have a massively parallel processing engine where we use all of the compute in the entire cluster globally for each query as a query enters, much like Google search would do.
Just hearing you talk about it there, it kind of reminds me of an episode of Silicon Valley. I'm not sure if you've seen the show or heard of it, but there's an episode where where every Bitcoin price goes up, like a 3-second clip of Napalm Death plays. I'm curious, have you thought about playing a sonic boom sound when you hit that 200 terabytes?
We've thought about putting it on the video when we launch the video of it. Yes, we definitely need a sound.
And what does it mean for Scalyr customers reaching these kind of levels?
The biggest thing for customers, I think, is probably affordability, particularly at the kind of scale we're talking about when you start hitting hundreds of terabytes. But really, any customer at any scale often has to make a choice between collecting and keeping all the data they want to and budgets, particularly as you move from a monolithic to a modern stack with microservices and containers and maybe one or more clouds. The amount of data that gets spun off these systems might go up by 10 to 1,000 times as you make that move to the new architecture, but budgets don't typically go up by that much. And it forces this kind of draconian trade-off to the user or the economic buyer to decide what data to keep, which is pretty hard to do because you don't know what data is going to be valuable until the time that you need that data. So we wanted to take that burden off the shoulder of the user and create an environment where it is affordable to keep and store and use all of this data, even long term. And, that's, I think, really, it takes away that burden of having to make a choice ahead of time about what to keep and what not to keep.
And for a lot of business leaders listening, especially in the current climate, the first questions they're going to be asking is, what about the ROI? What about the value to my business? So for those people listening, what kind of business value can they obtain from the ability to ingest and analyze 200 plus terabytes of data per day? And do you have any examples that might just deliver that light bulb moment to any business leader listening?
It can be different for every business, but typically this data gets used for problem isolation, and 80% of problems are known problems. So you can set a metric and a dashboard up, and when you see it, you know what's causing it, you can go solve it. But the 20% or less of problems that are new and unknown are the ones that create 80% of the cost and the pain and the impact to customers and their experiences. And those can be very difficult to resolve. And that's typically what you need this data for. So the light bulb moment often comes for each business when they have had one of those painful moments and they start to realize how critically important it is to retain context, to be able to go from very big picture, what's happening right now on my system in real time, or what happened historically. When these systems are so ephemeral, you can't recreate a problem. So unless you can travel back in time and see exactly what happened, there's no way for you to know and resolve. So we let you go from really big picture all the way down to the most granular detail, exactly what happened, exactly what error, exactly what system function was impacted. And then we let you zoom back out again and keep doing that over and over until you fully understand on an end-to-end basis how to resolve the problem so that it doesn't reoccur.
And as for yourselves at Scalyr, where obviously you're going to have to be more competitive than ever to stand out in this current climate. So how will this breakthrough actually enable Scalyr's pricing to rival even those do-it-yourself options? Because it seems like there's an incredible opportunity there for you guys.
We hope so. There are a lot of engineering organizations who want to retain control of their own destiny and who believe that by building something themselves, they can have a lower price and create a better environment for their internal users. And if we can get our tool, get the Scalyr platform in their hands for them to test it, we find pretty unanimously that they prefer the Scalyr platform, and they prefer it because it's way faster than something they can build themselves. It has more features and more functionality off the shelf, and it is at least as affordable. And oftentimes when you look at the total cost of ownership with the people who have to care and feed these systems, we can be substantially more affordable than do it yourself.
Excellent. And when we're talking about game-changing technology that's actually delivering real business value, I'm always curious. I want to take a little peek behind the curtain. And so a question I've got to ask is, what inspired the Sonic Boom project name? Who was responsible for that? Was it a group decision?
I don't even remember how that came about, but what we were talking about wanting to have kind of a thunder and lightning moment for the industry, because this really is a breakthrough. And in those conversations, we kept talking about it as breaking through the sound barrier. We have to break through the sound barrier of scale in the cloud. Mostly right now, cloud systems can scale into the tens of terabytes a day, but not the hundreds, and certainly not the petabytes a day. If you are at that massive scale, your only solution is some kind of on-prem, either do-it-yourself or on-prem software, which is very expensive and not very performant. So we kept talking about it in terms of breaking through the sound barrier of scale, performance, and affordability. And so, Sonic Boom just became the project name when we started talking about how we bring this to market.
And obviously, you're only just unveiling this today, but how do you expect the industry to receive this information? Because for me, on the outside looking in, it feels like a big game changer moment. But how do you expect the industry to react? Well,
we hope it is a big game changer moment. And one of the things we want people to understand is any company at any size can benefit from this. The reason why Scalyr is able to achieve it is that there's a network effect built deep into our architecture. And that means that the more data we ingest, the more customers we have, the faster and the more affordable it is for all customers. So customers that are even smaller in size get the price and performance benefits of this much, much bigger, more dynamic system. And so what we hope is it will change the way people start to think about those trade-offs that I talked about earlier. They don't have to move to metrics and discard all of their context just because they want to save money. Metrics are super important, and we are a big believer in metrics. In fact, we give metrics away for free and on the fly if it can be derived out of the log data. So we believe that metrics are really important, but we also believe that you want to retain all of that context for the health of your business. And what we're hoping is people realize that you can untangle that Gordian knot. You can have scale, performance, and price all in one solution, and you don't have to make those trade-offs anymore.
And of course, we are living in a period of uncertainty at the moment, both on this side of the pond and yours and throughout the entire world. But what excites you about life on the other side of the global pandemic? So I think it's important that we do create a more positive narrative and start looking to the future. And so what changes do you think we'll see?
So I think, one positive on the other side is that we cherish normalcy. Yeah. I think we're all getting to the point where we just want, goodness is just being back to normal and having to commute and getting to be in crowds of people again. And so maybe we'll cherish that a little bit. I do hope that the economy proves to be resilient. I think we all benefit when that's the case. I think it won't be surprising to see the trend to digital increase even more than it has. And, maybe even companies being more willing to let people work remotely and work from home, which again is a trend to more digital. And hopefully out of that comes the need for more and more of these digital tools to help you have real-time insight into what's happening and to resolve problems when they occur.
I do suspect we've awoken the curiosity of more than a few people listening who, one, want to find out more information about Scalyr, and two, find out more information about Sonic Boom, of course. So can you point them in the direction of where they can find that information online? And equally, if they are left with any questions after our conversation, the best way of contacting your team?
Thank you, Neil. So they can find us at scalyr.com, but it's spelled oddly. It's SCALYR.com, Scalyr. And they're welcome to contact us right on the website in the Contact Me button, and we will get back to them very promptly. Plus, there will be a cool Sonic Boom video on the website when we do the launch.
Well, if you could make a promise to me that Sonic Boom video will contain a Sonic Boom somewhere in it, I'll embed it on the blog post that will accompany this podcast too.
It better, or we're going to be disappointed.
Well, I've loved chatting with you today. I'm excited where this is going to lead. I'm also excited to see the video, if I'm completely honest with you. But more than anything, just a big thank you for taking the time to join me today. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Neil, thank you for having me.
I love how they called it a Sonic Boom, because they aim to break through the sound barriers of scale and costs that have prevented many companies from moving log management and analytics to the cloud. But I've got to be honest, I am struggling to get that Silicon Valley scene out of my head where every time the Bitcoin price went up, this happened. Sorry, I couldn't help myself there. I'm going to curse. If something's in my head, I'll curse you with it as well. Now, as leaders in that space, though, I love how Scalyr have continued to innovate and push the industry forward, because the ability to ingest and analyse over 200 terabytes of data per day at completely affordable rates is mind-blowing to me. But like I said in the interview there, I am from the outside looking in. This may be your area of expertise. Maybe we missed something from today's conversation that you would like to add. So if that's the case, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. And I do have a book out called Great TED Talks Innovation. You can find out more details about that on my website too. I won't bore you about it now. But I am interested in your thoughts today, so please keep them coming over. As for me, I'm going to walk off into the sunset now and listen to a playlist of sound effects such as sonic booms and that Napalm Death song. So I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. I've got another great guest lined up for you. But a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.